Hello, my name is Kathy J, and joining me today, I will tell you, she is known as Crystal Preston-Watson. I call her Giggles because she used to be my intern. And you're going to get to know her and love her as much as I do. But Crystal is a former journalist who learned how to code HTML and all this stuff. We'll get into all of that. And you kind of made it a mission to have access for people with disabilities. So it's a civil human right. And you also have a Kickstarter event that we're going to talk about, the Night of Disability Pride Comedy, coming July 5th. It's complete with ASL interpreters, live captioning, and a whole cast of improvisers. Hello, Crystal.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on here.
Hello, Giggles. I'm sorry for calling you that. It's so good to see you.
It's nice to see you again.
Larry and I could make you giggle, giggle, giggle. Oh, we've had so much fun, and I'm just so proud of what you've done, who you've become. And so when I last left you, you were still on your way to being a journalist, and you had a great time. You were the web editor for the Westward. Congratulations. Like, yay. I knew her. I knew her. And then of course there's COVID, there's a lot of stuff. So take us on your journey.
Oh yeah, so the the web editor position was where it was like got in and then it was like goodbye because it was like my first like real kind of like big girl job
Yeah.
and I
And you
was
had so many to get there. I mean,
yeah.
you were doing it, Crystal.
Yes, and so I was there, and then eventually they were like, "Yeah, this is not working out," So my last day was like crying in the little cubicle, with my little box and taking, taking a cab ride home with all my stuff.
Yes, I got it. We've all taken our ego and put it in a box and walked out.
And so but but then eventually I ended up at the Rocky Mountain News as a interactive producer there, and I was there until it closed in 2009, and that's where I was like, yeah, I think it's time to get out of the journalism field because it's being there like the last night of this huge, newspaper that had been around for 149 years. And it's just like, I don't want to go through this again.
Yeah.
And so that's when I completely decided to go from journalism into software and web development. So
Which
I
is so crazy because that's what was kind of taking the job of all the journalists.
I decided to, I was like, you know what, you can't beat them, join them.
That's what
I,
you did. That's kind of what happened. It
yeah,
sucked.
I sold out.
You and you and I used to talk about the importance of journalism and how, like we needed that opinion and we needed people writing their thoughts. And so here you are. Okay, so but I agree with you. You still got to eat and you realized you were good at it. Like all of a sudden you started learning code. You taught yourself HTML. Like nobody does that. Like
I mean,
it's
I've always been like a nerd and stuff
yes,
like that, and so
always.
yeah, and so I was doing that stuff for fun on the side, like making websites just to make myself like to humor myself, and then and then that did get me into journalism, into jobs because they were like, well, you can do this stuff, and then I was like, well, I might as well just do that completely now,
Yes.
and then yeah, so I kept up with it, and I became a front end developer, and in coding, and then kind of went through all these like different stuff. Like I was then a quality engineer, and and that's how I got into accessibility.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so it and the thing is that journalism still helped quite a lot with when it comes to coding and things like that. So I think a lot of people think, well, how can you go from journalism into web development? But a lot of the skills that you have from journalism, the writing, the investigation carries over into what people consider a lot more technical field.
Yeah, well, good to know because well, you mean you knew how to read.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, I knew how to read it. And it was like, yeah, pretty much if you can read stuff, you got it.
You can read without falling asleep, we might
Yeah,
have something. Okay,
exactly.
so let's get into now how it went into the next phase of your life, which is the accessibility.
Yeah.
So you said the accessibility is a civil and human right, it's not a privilege. So when did all of it start becoming part of your world?
So right, so as got into web development, software development, about I say about 2014, yeah, 2014, 2015, I started. So I should say I've always had only one functional eye. A lot of people didn't realize that. I was born, I had congenital toxoplasmosis, so I had a scarring on my right like my macula in my right eye.
Okay.
So with this eye that has, that has an eye patch on it
That
right now.
eye?
And but it didn't really, my left eye took a lot of the slack that the right eye, couldn't, couldn't do. And it was fine until about 2014. And then I noticed that my it having glasses wasn't enough, and I realized I was starting to lose vision in my left eye. And then I was diagnosed with this eye disease called keratoconus, which is kind of like a coning of the cornea. And so I that kind of made me more aware. I'm like, oh gosh, how am I going to have a career,
Yeah,
not
but
being
you have
able
to see.
to see, especially when it comes to web development. And it just so happened I ended up getting a project that had me testing. They were like, well, we need for you to test screen readers for people who are blind and low vision. And that kind of sparked of like, oh wow, I knew kind of them in like like the
Okay, yeah.
periphery. Yeah. And so yeah, and then I was like, well, I want to learn more about this. And it came at the right time, because it's like, okay, I can still do my job and do
Sensitive.
even with like having low vision and visual impairment. And so from there I started learning more, started unfortunately learning how there's a lack of really thought and like and really intention when it comes to accessibility in the in digital like web and
Sure.
applications and things like that.
Yeah.
So I just started learning more, and I started really just really advocating for web and tech companies to make their things, make their products accessible. So that's, it benefited, that ticket kind of really sparked that, because one, it showed me that, hey, I don't need to just lose my sight and just be like the end of it. And then also becoming an advocate to make sure that if you're going to have these products out there, make sure these products benefit everyone and are accessible to everyone, including people with disabilities.
Yes, and you'd think that would be a given, but employers, some of
Yeah.
them don't do that. They're
No.
like, "I don't need to provide you with a special keyboard or anything. I don't have to worry about any of that."
And that is not technically right, which
Is
is
it?
no, because there are protections under the the
Disability.
Americans with Disability Act. And so there, when it comes to reasonable accommodations, when a person with disabilities is working for a company, unfortunately not every company realizes that, and not every person realizes that. What that means depends on the job, and it really in the context of what you're doing in that job. But reasonable accommodations, that there is a stereotype that people with disabilities aren't productive, and that is the
Far
furthest thing
from the
from.
truth.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, if you don't give them reasonable accommodations, then yeah, they're not going to be productive. But that's true of anyone. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
You're so right, Crystal. Yeah, we're speaking today with Crystal Preston-Watson. She is, Yeah, you've done everything from journalism to HTML, but you were part of Salesforce and you helped build their accessibility program there,
And
right?
yeah.
Right?
So it was the internal digital accessibility program for the employees.
That's still
S-
you were for the people,
yeah.
right? And so it's funny because here you are helping tech companies realize they need to use some tech to help people with disabilities be employees. Like, right? And so you're like, hey, this would help the employee read. This couldn't. So, how do you hook up employees with what you know they could need versus the technology? How do you get that to them so that they can stay employed?
Yeah, so particularly what I would do is that a lot of times with employees with disabilities, they companies will, as they're, going along and doing their things, people will bring in technology and, to help productivity, whatever, more profit. But a lot of times those tools, whatever software are inaccessible for people with disabilities. And so the main thing that, that was my position at Salesforce was one, making sure that if those barriers were there, getting rid of those barriers, and
Yeah.
then also helping to educate, everyone there of like, okay, if you're going to, do build tools to help your employee, like your teammates, your other colleagues, for to help them be productive, make sure these things that you're doing are accessible.
Yes.
And so, because the thing is that it's most people don't want to isolate or leave out their colleagues, their
Oh,
teammates.
right.
And so it's really just about education, and that was my main thing of like, I would swoop in and was like, oh, I there's a barrier, let me come in here to make sure,
Wow.
and not to be like, like the really like, I'm angry, and I'm like, I come in a way of just educating, because you know yeah, you may not know, and that's okay. Let's get you the knowledge, so
Do
that
you
you can get rid of these barriers, and then going forth, making sure that that never happens
right. I love
again.
that you said all polite that it never happens again.
Yeah.
Do you find that companies resist someone wanting to come in and tell them how they can help their employees have accessibility?
I think it does.
Yeah,
The one good thing is that I even though I'm not, now I'm no longer at Salesforce, I there's still a wonderful team there that is fighting the good fight when it comes to
good.
accessibility. And and so I really, I really appreciated my time, because just so many really great people who are just like, they really championed accessibility. But unfortunately, there are companies out there that do not care, and that's just that, it's just reality.
Yes.
And
Doesn't mean we have to accept it. It's just reality for some people. Yeah.
yeah, and I think a lot of it comes from it's a good portion of just not understanding disability, a portion of the stigma of what disability may mean to people, ableism, being ingrained into how people think about about disability, and then other times it is kind of like pure profit. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it's like, well, yeah.
Crystal, you're right. You always speak the truth. And I love the fact that you always continue to pivot, pivot. So now you have a new thing. We're going to do a fundraiser. We have a Kickstarter, right? Okay.
Yes.
So it's your tagline, entertainment shouldn't have an asterisk. So tell me about improv in the dark. What is it? What do you want audiences to walk away feeling?
Yeah, so improv night is it's part of a like larger night called Accommodate This, and it's during Disability Pride Month.
Accommodate this.
This.
I'm like,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah. Look,
accommodate this.
I wanted a name for the night that just really kind of just like,
It's
yes, stuck
perfect.
out.
It says it. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And so, I mean, disability pride, which, a lot of people are like, well, pride and disability, but, again, be just, you might be disabled, but that doesn't mean you have to give up all hope and not, have respect and care and love for yourself just because you have a disability. And so
Exactly.
that's what Disability Pride Month really celebrates. And then I wanted to really like have an event of that really celebrated really
Yeah,
bringing in people with disabilities, not only in the audience but also as the performers, and really celebrate,
I
and,
love that.
yeah, and just have a great night. And so in Improv in the Dark is really, it's an improv show that really doesn't focus on the a lot of like mobility or visual aspects, but really kind of more on the auditory side of things. But we're going to have accommodations, which includes a sign language interpreters and also live captions, because a lot of people may not realize people that are deaf and hard of hearing, not all of them know sign language. And so that's why we're having ASL interpreters and live captioning at the same time, which
I
and I
love
know
that.
it's Improv in the Dark, so people are like, how are you going to have sign language interpreters
Lots of
and
funny
live
movement.
captions? But I'm going to do it. I don't know how. I'm still, that part is still being worked out,
You
but I'm going
you
to do
can
it.
type fast. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to
Yes.
You're like, "Can I get some of your jokes ahead of time?" Okay, so, it's a Kickstarter, also part of a Kickstarter program. Let's talk about the goal for the Kickstarter part of this.
So the good news is our main goal was funded actually late last last week. So $2,000, and that means, and that gets us all the accommodations, which are the interpreters, the cart, live captioning, and then also we're going to have a like a beginning improv class
That's
before.
awesome.
And
Let
so
people come alive, find their
yeah,
freedom.
yeah, exactly.
All right.
And then so now we're in the last 2 days, and our stretch goals is to pay our cast
Oh, yeah,
because
that would
that
be
is,
nice.
yeah, that's something I really do. Paying people for their time and their talent, especially when it comes to disabled people.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And then it is happening on July 5th, and before I
Mhm.
let you go, July 5th isn't a random date. Let's talk about why you chose that date.
Yeah, so July 5th is the 48th, because it was 1978, the 48th anniversary of the protest by the Gang of 19
Okay,
on um, here in Denver, actually on Broadway and Colfax, where disability rights advocates protested RTD for not having accessible buses. And that protest actually kind of kicked off the modern disability rights movement. And it also caused RTD to be the first public transportation system in the United States and having wheelchair lifts in their buses. So it was
that's
just like
huge.
yeah.
That's
So it was
huge.
like
I didn't know that started here in Denver, but I did hear the gang in 19. I didn't know that it was a disability. It wasn't a real gang. It was just a group of
no, it's
disabilities.
just a
Right.
bunch of people
So
like
that's
on the
crazy. All right, Crystal. Okay, so where can people get the information so they can join you, so they can continue to support you?
Yeah, so there's the Kickstarter, accommodate this. You just have to search, on
Accommodate
Kickstarter.
this.
Yeah, and then, or there's tickets. They're still available for the night on July 5th, and you can go to Rise comedy.com, because that's where we're having our the event, Rise Comedy, in Lodo here in Denver. And so if you want to support of our stretch goal, go to Kickstarter, and then
Rise
and
Comedy,
also buy
July 5th.
tickets to the show.
I love it. Okay, Crystal, thank you. I love you, giggles. We're gonna go to lunch, hang out. One
Yes.
last thing before I let
Mhm.
you go. One thing that every person listening right now can do today to make their corner of the world more accessible.
I think just one, listening to people with disabilities and their stories and getting their point of view. And then also when it comes to companies, just ask for things to be accessible because it's not just, when things are accessible, yes, they're supporting people with disabilities, but they also support just everyone in general as well. A
Yeah.
lot of the technology that you like use, like, the assistants like Siri or things like that, started out as things that were for people with disabilities, and people realized that yes, they help people with disabilities, but they also help people, everyone as well.
God bless closed caption.
Yes.
Older I get with the kids and stuff. God bless closed caption. That was yes. All right. CrystalPrestonWatson.com is also where you can find her. Crystal, mwah, hugging, love you. I'm just so proud. We'll
Oh,
talk again, okay?
yes.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care.
Kathy J.